Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin wa ba'd. We'd like to welcome you all to our Awoke and Grand Folk show. We had a new time slot, which is today on Sundays at 2 p.m. We moved from our normal time slot for Wednesdays at 2:30, inshallah. And we hope this adjustment is not an inconvenience to anybody. And we hope people will follow us on our broadcast, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so today's topic. Well, first of all, you all familiar with these very esteemed guests here, panelists. We have Miss Joanne, perennial queen. Alhamdulillah, she's here with us today. And our sister Fatima, the Queen of Canada, mashallah. And our brother, Dr. Sabir, will be joining us, inshallah ta'ala. And our other sister from the British Virgin Islands, Sister Fatima, is having some difficulties. Inshallah, should be able to join. So we'd like to welcome all of you who are joining us today in this broadcast, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it of immense benefit. So today, our topic is about the cancel culture, and the title is called Canceling the Cancel Culture, or having a discussion about the cancel culture and the impact that it has really on like free speech and controlling and stuff like that. And Dr. Sabir is going to give us an expert analysis of this cancel culture and the harms and benefits of it, inshallah ta'ala. How, first of all, let the world know how you queens are doing. How is life in the royal palaces that you guys are in?
Well, in international Florida, life is beautiful. Today has been an extremely beautiful day for me. Today is my birthday. And also, since I found out that I did not take the proper shahada originally, this morning, I began my day with also having my son, Mr. Singh, to give me my shahada. So I want to thank Imam Amin for straightening me out on that. And I feel a lot better because I was beginning, to question, was I doing the right thing or just, where was I situated, because I do know that the original organization that I was associated with is considered a cult. It is a cult. And I just want to make sure that I am back on the right path and that I am living the life that I should be living. So I was very grateful for that, and that I was allowed to live and I was spared to live this length of time so that I could get my life back in order. I always tried to put forth the best effort that I could, always knowing that I was held accountable for all of my deeds. But now that even means even more to me now, especially since I put more action into it to correct, some of the things that perhaps I did improperly just out of not knowing. But I'm glad that I'm here, and it's something, that I wish for everyone.
Alhamdulillah. So this turned out to be a celebration then, mashallah.
Yeah.
Mabruk, alhamdulillah.
Where's she going?
I don't know. We're super proud of you, Miss Joanne. This just adds to your resume of royalty, mashallah. You do see I got some flowers in the background.
There you go. I got some.
All right. You know what I mean?
All right. No half. Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay. No half stepping. No half stepping.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. We have our esteemed panelists joining us. Dr. Sabir. Assalamu alaikum, akhi.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you? How's everyone?
Good. Alhamdulillah. Long time no see, brothers. Good to see you shining face in the place. And this is your show by default today, man. So I'm just a guest and here to learn, inshallah. So now that you're here, we can get right into it. The topic is about cancel culture, and from my research, well, not really research, just observing the stuff in social media and in the media. Cancel culture is usually associated with some people, organizations, or individuals who do something that is not as popular and that's not in popular culture. And most of the time we think about people who do things like things like with Bill Cosby and Weinstein, and and this latest thing with Will Smith. Anything that somebody does that a particular group or that they don't like, then they're ready to just like get rid of everything that they've done. And of course there are many examples, but those are some of the ones that come to mind. Dr. Sabir is going to expound on it more deeply, but it's almost from what I gather from it in my observation, is like when people do things that are outside of normal, what's accepted or not accepted in popular culture, then everything that these people have done. For instance, we are kind of familiar with the Bill Cosby case, because of the allegations of sexual misconduct over years and him being convicted. There was an argument about, should everything that he's ever done, should it be like disregarded, like all of the good work that he's done, it should just be like, because of this one incident or incidences or, whatever the case may be. It's like, they didn't want to televise this Cosby Show reruns and, just mess up his whole life because of things that he done, that wasn't acceptable. So, and just looking a little further into it, it's almost like there is a infringement on the right to free speech. Of course, as Muslims, we have the right to, say words, but we also have a responsibility to say words that are correct. As Allah says in the Quran, Wakulu kaulan sadida, and say a word that is directed towards the truth. So although, sometimes truths may be expressed, and in this country we have the right to express them, everything is not meant to be said, because some things that are offensive, as the Sunnah dictates, that we're not to offend people with our words, and we're supposed to try to find the best way to express ourselves without being offensive or without causing harm to someone, but at the same time getting the truth across, inshallah. So, I mean, this cancel culture is related to Islamic principles, and so we want to discuss this a little bit today. So we'll start with our esteemed guest, Dr. Sabir, inshallah. So we would like to hear from you about your definition of cancel culture and what it means to us as an Islamic community.
First of all, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone. First of all, when we have things to say, there's going to be many formats that we have to, and we need to say things. But the one thing that we don't want to do is put our negative emotions into what the message is. We have to remember that not only we may be talking to one another being right in front of each other, but we got to remember that there's other people listening, be it a listening audience like we're doing now, or we could be standing somewhere, and we have to recognize that people could be in other rooms around the corner or somewhere where they're not even directly involved with the conversation. We have to make sure that we understand that when we give a message, that we're giving it, I'm going to use the word globally, which it means outwardly to many different people. And we should choose our words wisely and our thoughts, because it's important that we realize that we are all teachers in one way, shape, or form. We're giving information, and we want to make sure it's accurate, and we want to make sure it's sincere also, because if we use anger to do things and to put forth information, it's going to come across wrong. You can't have mixed messages. You have to be direct, and you have to be to the point, and be able to explain yourself, because it's crucial. Because, the example I give is this. If you take a piece of paper and go up on a mountain and tear it up into many pieces, and the wind blow, all the pieces go everywhere, you can't find every piece. So what I mean by that is you got to make sure that your format and what you're presenting to people is sound and thought out, and give the correct message and not mixed messages. That's very important. Another thing too is, our actions. We can say a lot of things and have many good messages, but if our actions, our outward actions, don't coincide with the message we're giving, we're confusing people again. Because we got to remember, people come with different learning skills, habits, etc. And some people, if we come off the wrong way and are not prepared, we're giving a message to especially weak people that have weak minds and weak gravitation to information. We're harming them. So we have to be very, very, very careful when we present ourselves to give information and make sure that not only we give the information, but we live in it also, because that is the better of examples. See, we have two responsibilities: to say what's right and to do what's right. And even if we're not strong enough to do what's right, we still got to say what's right. You understand? We're not absolved from the responsibilities of giving messages, whether it be right or wrong, and we should stand up for both. And we got to, just like I said, it's all about a person's demeanor and which incorporates their character. And the character has to be steadfast and also consistent. We can't be like a waves on the water. We're talking to people, we're trying to help people, and we're trying to help people become independent thinkers. And, so to speak, if a person's thinking on a 30-watt light bulb or 40-watt light bulb, so to speak, you want them trying to get them close to 100. So we have to make sure that we as individuals understand that we have a responsibility to convey both verbally and visually so we can help people, because it's on us. We take on the responsibilities. If we give the wrong information out, if our conduct is not correct, we're taking on those bad deeds, and we're hurting people. We're not helping. And that's why we go back to making sure that when we do something, that is never done out of anger, because anger is a fool's speech. Anger is a fool's speech. So what that means is it's going to be all wrong if you come with it with anger instead of with intellect, in a direction of helping and understanding. We're supposed to be of service to people, not a hindrance, not a ball and chain around their ankle. So we have to be consistent about what we're doing when we're dealing with people, because people are visual, visual, they hear. So they're mainly tuned in when visual and when they hear. So we got to make sure those are come together as one, not separately. And we always have to be mindful of that. And see, there's a lot of actions that happen that people do because of anger. Even if you apologize, it has already caused damage. Apology, a lot of times, cannot do any justice for what has occurred. You have to be mindful of that. Apology does not fix everything. So in order to stay away from these kind of things, we got to make sure that anger is not making a fool out of and guiding us, because it talks about that in the Deen. There's Muslims in the hellfire because they didn't control their anger. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam expounded on this in al-Hadith about this. We have to guard our anger, so we can think straight and do things with balance, not with malice. Balance, not with malice. So we always have to, I'm gonna say it again, we always have to be mindful of this, because once we do something and it's wrong, there's no way that we as individuals can go back and rectify that, because we don't know how far it went out. That's why we got to guard our tongue and know what we're talking about, and be steadfast and consistent, because we don't know how far it reached. We really don't. It's like putting a video on. You tape a video of some crazy stuff, then you put it on the media, the streams that we have now. You can take it off of there, but it's not really off. It done went so far beyond that we can't do anything about it. So what I'm saying is always have that caution sign up and be prepared and think. Don't just be emotionally active. That means doing something physical. you know, doing some things that you cannot recanter. You can't call it back. You know, you fire a bullet from the gun, you can't say, "Oh, bullet, don't go there." Okay, I didn't mean to go for that direction or that person or that thing. Can't do that. Once you let this stuff out of you, wherever it lands, that's where it lands. And whatever damage is caused, it came from the person who initiated it. So that's basically what I want to say at first on that.
Okay. Alhamdulillah, Dr. Sabir. I want to get right to the meat of the matter because I think this is important to discuss. You probably been familiar with, you know, when we talk about cancel culture, sometimes it's directly related to the LGBTQ community, you know, and we know in these days and times, if you say anything against this community, you are more than likely to be canceled, you know. And, you know, as Muslims, we have an obligation to speak out against things that are, you know, munkar, things that are evil. And then, you know, you can also remain silent. But then when these things come to pass, as a Muslim, you have to say things. And where do we strike the balance? Because I'm pretty sure you are familiar with this lady from the Senate. Yeah, I don't follow politics too much, but the Muslim woman, I think from Minnesota, where she's kind of endorsing the LGBT community, and then there's other couple Muslim organizations who are saying that we have to accept this, and according to Islamic principles, this is not acceptable, you know. And I was just reading a speech about there was a alumni at a college, and he did a speech. It was a graduation speech it was an Ohio high school. And the man has said in the speech that marriage should only be between a man and a woman. And they considered this speech as hateful, you know. I mean, and this is just traditional. Men and women are made for each other, according to Islam. So where do we draw the line as Muslims, you know, being faced with these communities and the possibility and being in the public sphere of being canceled and then feeling like we have to cater to these things that are obviously anti-Islamic, you know, this whole thing about transgender and, you know, men wanting to be women and women wanting to be men and having the freedom to exercise this stuff. This is not from Islam, but you have Muslims who are endorsing this stuff and trying to make it okay. So where do we draw the line with, you know, speaking out against the truth? I mean, speaking out against falsehood, or remaining silent, or, you know, should we be worrying about being canceled for standing up for our Islamic principles? That's the question I really wanted to ask.
First of all, no, there should not be a trade-off, because if you trade off, that means, if any of us would trade off, that means that we're changing the deen, and we're not supposed to do that. You know that. So that means we're changing the deen. That's automatic. You know, and I look and I understand all the dynamics and everything about these issues. I understand that. But the thing is this: if it's brought to us, then we challenge it. We don't have to go seek it because we know it's there. We don't have to go seek it. If it's brought directly, then you challenge it. But otherwise, you don't just go out and just, you know, you get on the corner and do all that. You don't have to do that. If it's brought to us into our culture like that, then we have to say something. And we do it in a way whereas we give information and we're polite how we do it. And that's how it should be addressed. That's what I feel. That's how it should be addressed that way. But we shouldn't just go out and just, you know, start getting on the corner and do all that. I don't suggest that. But if it comes to us, you got to address it. We have to. We just have to do it with savvy. You know, be direct, but we got to do it with tactfulness, because people going to believe what they believe, and we know that through history. We understand all that. We know that. But when it comes to us, yes, we should address it. I just know you can't just back down. You can't go along to get along. You have to address it. When it comes right directly to you, you got to address it. You know, you got to address it, because what happens is, if we don't address it when it comes directly to us, let me say that again, directly. When it comes directly to us and we don't address it, you know what that makes it seem like? It seems like that every one of us are in agreement with this. I mean, perception, you know, perception is what I'm talking about. Perception that across the board, we agree with it. When people don't say what it is, especially when it comes to them, When it comes directly, then we should say something about it. I mean, that's all I'm saying. And of course, we're going to be tactful. We're going to be, but we have to address it. But we can't just, when it comes to us and we don't say anything, that hurts all of us. It really does. It hurts all of us. It does. It's the same as if we as individual exemplify bad behavior. Who does it hurt? All of us. It don't just hurt the person that has bad behavior. Being a Muslim, it hurts every one of us. So therefore, we got to be mindful of our duties, and we understand about the neighbors have right. Neighbors is a broad term, but it's inclusive of many things, as you know. But we still be respectful. But like I said again, we got to stand up and say what it is when it's brought to us. We can't just sugarcoat it. We can't let it go, and that's what we have to do. In a kind way. Of course, I'm going to emphasize that, because we don't want anger to take the place of intellect, because then that's foolishness. Then that's being a fool. So we always want to have intellect, no matter what we have to do and say. We got to have intellect behind it. And like I said, and I'm gonna say it again, we must address it when it comes to us. Yes, we do. We should.
Okay, I'd like to hear from our queens on this topic, inshallah. Sister Fatima, you want to go first?
Sure. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I suggested this topic for a discussion because I didn't know it started with that community. I did not know that. I just had thought the cancel culture was part of where we call everybody out on what we think they're doing wrong, and we expose them. And that's what I thought it was. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm off base, but because I see a lot of that going is where we make judgments.
No, that's a part of it, Sister Fatima. That's a part of it.
Because I see a lot of times, even Muslims, that we make judgments on people, one, that we don't even know. Two, some of them are dead. Some of them could be our relatives. And we assume we know what's going on with them, and we make judgments about it, and we expose them. We think we're exposing, we think we're doing a good thing, and it's not even true. I too had been involved with some people that Tarika that probably wasn't doing the right thing, it wasn't taking the right path. And when I left them, I was gaslighted, which I think is part of the cancel culture, is gaslighting people. And because they were afraid I would talk out about them. And I was going to at one point. And then I thought better of it, because I thought people can change, and I made dua for those people constantly, that they will make Toba and that they will change their ways and not hurt anybody else. But because I don't think it's my job to call anybody out on anything, especially on that level. As an individual, if someone comes to me, I know some people close to me that have taken that path. They got involved through Black Lives Matter, and next thing you know, they were coming out of the closet or whatever they call it. I also know someone that's just a new Muslim, and I was there when they took their shahada, and they have on there, if you don't like transgenders, then we can't be friends. And I have never said anything, and I'm realizing I'm not sure how to approach it because she's a new Muslim. So that's something I need advice from the panel on this today, because if that's all part of the cancel culture, then I know it's against the Sharia law, but I don't know how to deal with it because she is new Muslim, like maybe a month old as a Muslim. Then there's the question, then, is she really a Muslim? I don't know. Because when you believe something's not a sin, then apparently that takes you out of the folds.
Yeah, we'll discuss that in a minute. But as soon as I hear from something from Miss Joanne,
yeah, you're a girl.
Okay. All right. Well, I even have close relatives in my family that are part of the LGBT community. Now, I love them to death. Now, I love them, and that does not change. But they are also aware of what my feelings are and what my stance is on homosexuality. That being said, and they've said what they had to say to me. I've said what I had to say to them. They know how I feel and what my stance is. I still love them. I pray for them, and hope that one day, that they will see the light. But they know. But now it was done in a loving manner. Sometimes it's not
Right.
what you say, is how you say it. And what I said
Absolutely.
to them was in a loving manner, and they know, that it came from my heart, and that I really was thinking about them. And so there were no hard feelings about it. There's still no hard feelings between us. They haven't changed yet, but who knows? One day they might. But they do know exactly how I feel, and it was done in a loving manner. Now, had I blasted them, to the whole family, and just made a spectacle, at the barbecue, no, that wouldn't have been right. That would have only caused hostile pursuits.
Right.
But one on one, I've been able, to speak with them, but in a loving manner.
Alhamdulillah. You're such a beautiful sister, mashallah.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
alhamdulillah. I think one of the things, not necessarily we challenge with, but because just looking at senator, she's a senator, a House of Representative Ilhan Omar. You know her? You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what she did, she said in a recent tweet, she said, "Happy Pride Month," because this is Pride Month for that community, and she said that we as Muslims will not stop until all of these LGBTQ people and that they don't face discrimination. So, and indirectly, she's saying that as Muslims that we accept this, and is what you were saying, Miss Joanne, that we hate this, we hate the sins, but we don't hate the sinner.
Right.
This stuff, this behavior from this community is something that's reprehensible, it's anti-Islamic, and it's not something that we should be endorsing or accepting. And as Muslims, we're not going to discriminate against a person because that's what their preference is. But I'm not going to stand up for it either.
Right.
Like I remember going to a seminar some years ago, and it was like a chaplain's training, and so a guy did a presentation, and it was real sweet. It was like it was like a love story, like and it just showed this man, he was going through all of these things in his life, and then at the end he ended up marrying another man, right? So, but the way they presented the story was like you following the dialogue was like you felt some sympathy for him, and then at the end they showed him kissing the other guy. So the presenter was a Muslim. So we was like, man, what was this about, man? Like, what was the purpose of this? So he was basically saying, like, we as Muslims have to embrace this community and stand up for their rights because they're being discriminated against. And we was like, no, man, this is not Islam. So we was like, listen. So one brother gave an example. He said, man, if I saw one of those people, like a transgender or a homosexual or somebody, if he's burning up in the building, I'm not going to ask him what his sexuality is before I save him. I'm going to save his life. That don't mean I agree with his preference. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and then people with this mentality that they have to stand up for this stuff is really harmful because people are thinking that this is the voice of the Muslims. And then on the other hand, if you speak out against this stuff, which is the problem with cancel culture, they think that it's extreme, and this is where a lot of people are caught in. Now, a lot of people won't say anything, and we see all types of munkar, all types of bad things happening, and people not saying nothing because they feel like they're going to be ostracized or boycotted, or their career becomes jeopardized, or all that kind of stuff. And this is something we're going to be struggling with because this community, this LGBTQ community has been bullying people for the last few years. Now, people feel pressured, and there was one Muslim organization that just outright, I was trying to find the picture, but he was outright just saying, like, we're standing up for these gay rights. We're standing up for these LGBTQ rights and these transgender rights. And that's not something that we do as Muslims. So as Dr. Sabir said, you have to use tact, and we have to be savvy about how we speak out against this because, there's always an assault on Islam, and everything that we do is extreme, but it's really the balance. We see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this hadith about he came among his wives, and there was an effeminate man among them, and he was talking in a manner like like he was an effeminate man. And the Prophet ﷺ just said he didn't like his speech. You know, he didn't like his speech. He didn't approve of his speech, but he didn't say like, you know, get this man out of here. He's a homosexual. I don't want him around. You know, he just said, I don't like the speech that he's saying. You know, so that's kind of one way to deal with it. Just, you know, show that we disapprove of the behavior, but we don't necessarily hate the person, because as you were saying, Sister Fatima, if we get a new Muslim who's maybe a transgender or they have a sexual preference that's not normal, you know, that doesn't stop them from being Muslim, but they have to be made aware that what the Islamic law is according to this, that this is not acceptable, you know. And if a person continues in it, you know, they're sinful, but if they believe that it's okay for them to do that, then that would be problematic. That's the part that would take them outside of Islam. Because, you know, if a person is Muslim and they're homosexual, they're just committing a sin. They're committing a kaba'ir. But it doesn't take them outside of Islam unless they just believe that it's okay for them to be in that state and that there's no problem that Allah is going to accept them as they are. And that's where the problem would arise, you know. And it is really unfortunate that we have a lot of Muslims who are in the public sphere who are actually like kind of afraid to like just have a balanced approach, because, you know, it makes it seem like nowadays with the bullying, with this cancel culture, that a balanced approach is extreme. You know, a balanced approach is extreme. We just don't agree with it. This is not our principles. It's not what we believe. And it's like if we say anything, it's like it seems bad, but you know, other people kind of say it like straight out, you know, and they don't really care. And it's really hard for Muslims who are people who are strict adherents to the truth and standing up for principles, especially in these days and times where everyone else is kind of letting their principles go. Muslims are like the last vanguard that hold on to these principles that seem, you know, where people will say that they're outdated or they're barbaric or they're medieval or whatever they say, you know, but these are principles that we will hold on until the judgment day, you know, and the things that we believe, inshallah, that we will never, we should never compromise them. And, you know, being in that public limelight sometimes is very difficult, you know, because you think about some of the, you know, and as I was saying at the beginning of the broadcast, a lot of this is geared towards, you know, controlling people's freedom of speech, you know, and some of these things. So down the line, it's going to be like, you know, you won't be able to say anything about it. Anything will be a go because everybody has a right to do so, you know, because from homosexuality to lesbianism, now it's transgender. Next thing you know, it's going to be bestiality, then, you know, pedophilia, and nobody's going to be able to say anything. So as Muslims, we have to take a stand against this stuff because these things are, you know, abominations. These are abominations in the society, you know, and there's a segment of society who are trying to, you know, normalize these things, and anybody that says anything is going to be ostracized. So there's an element of us that we have to really be prepared to accept that kind of stuff, and it won't be popular. You know, we won't be in with the main crowd all the time, but we'll be okay with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know. So go ahead, Dr. Sabir.
You know, something came across my mind while you was talking.
I knew it was going to happen. That's why I knew I was going to spark you, man. You know, that's why we brought you on the show.
Hey, look, you know, we got to understand, we got to separate what is principle and what is humanity. I want to make that clear, because some people mix the whole thing up and just go far to the left. We believe in that, you know, as far as that's concerned, as far as this topic's concerned, but we still have to treat everybody humanely. You understand? And that goes back to what I said earlier about our neighbors have rights. Understand what the word neighbor means, you know, and they're neighbors too, regardless. Just because we don't like what, you know, their lifestyle, they're still human. Example, here we go. You see someone and they got boxes they're carrying, they dropping all over the place, and they're distinguishable. So the person that's thinking about humanity is going to go help the person and help them with the boxes and get them in the car, wherever they're taking them at. The other person that's not thinking about humanity and only principle, they're going to walk on by and act like they don't exist. And we can't, and that's what you don't do. And that's what that's why I want to make that clear. That's what you should not do. And it goes back to tying into what you just said, Imam Fahim. It goes back to that. You have to be a thinker, not a reactor. That's the whole point of what I'm saying. You got to be a thinker, not a reactor. We're all part of humanity, and we all got to help each other as far as humanity is concerned. So I want to make that clear. So whatever somebody practices or don't practice, we still have to treat them humanely. I want to make that clear. We still have an obligation to treat them humanely. That's all. That's what I wanted to add to what you said.
Thank you.
We have a halftime segment of the show. The Sister Fatima with these great advertising skills. So I think we've reached that portion of the show. So we'll take a pause for the calls, and then we'll come right back, inshallah.
Okay. Where did Miss Joanne go? There she is.
Oh, my phone dropped me. I'm sorry.
MashaAllah. All right, so I just came across this is a group that's called the Muslim American Leadership Alliance. So I just wanted to read this statement from the one of the persons on the board of directors. So he has a picture on Twitter, and it's called Happy Pride Month 2022. And this is the statement, and you guys can talk about this. We discuss it. He says, the LGBTQ plus, I forgot the plus, you got to be politically correct. There's a plus. That means they add other stuff to it as we go. So they don't have any set principles, and I got to watch what I say because it might get canceled, but that's okay. He said that the LGBTQ plus community has not been prioritized amongst the Muslim American community. And he said MALA, which is their organization, the Muslim American Leadership Alliance, does not only stand and support these individuals, but we also highlight their stories and include them in our mission to celebrate Muslim American heritage and inclusivity. I want to wish our LGBTQ plus members and community builders a happy Pride Month. Yeah, so this is where the stuff becomes problematic because, actually advocating for these kind of rights that are anti-Islamic is problematic. And indirectly, I won't say that this person is outside of Islam, but to believe that this stuff is okay would put a person outside of Islam. And these going to be hard discussions that we're going to have, especially if Muslims are taking these stances and then not correct. And then you have some organizations who are endorsing these people and not correcting this behavior, because this is just a no-no. This is going to be for all times. No matter how much advancements we make in society, or how progressive we become as a society, or how modern we become as a society, the principles of Islam are the principles of Islam, that they're not to be changed. And of course, the beautiful thing about the deen, it is adapt to every era, every time period that it's in, without changing. So these is going to be some very difficult conversations. And then also the growing number of people who are becoming Muslim and who are transgender and who are bisexual or homosexual or lesbian, and how do we accommodate them? Of course, there are principles that help us with that, but these are going to be very, very hard conversations we got to have. But as far as cancel culture, we're living in a time where everyone is afraid to say something because it might be offensive to the other person. So, what is the limit for us as Muslims, in you guys' view, of where we should, draw the line about what we say and our responsibility, especially on social media? Because there's some things that you come across, you can't say anything except how it is. You got to say how it is, and some things you can ignore, but some things you just you feel compelled to speak out against it because it is a clear wrong. So Miss Joanne, I'll start with you, inshallah.
Okay. Well, if I just heard or read that, that statement, it gives the impression that the Muslims are given a stamp of approval for homosexuality, transgender, and the rest of the group, which is not the case. But when you have someone where it looks like he's in an authoritative position, to give that statement, but it's a statement that should not have been given. It's one that he should be corrected on. Now, I don't know who his imam is, but someone needs to pull his coattail for that, or who gave the approval for him to make such a statement, because it then gives other laypersons and even new Muslims and some old that, okay, we're going to give our stamp of approval because look who this is coming from, which is simply not the case. So you still have to stand up for what you know is right and what you know is wrong. Homosexuality is wrong. Now, so you can't come out and force saying, that you back them up and everything. No, that's not true. That simply is not true. And I think that someone needs to address him and let him know that no, you don't speak for all Muslims. But when you go on those different platforms, particularly the media platforms, it gives the impression that he is, which he is not. And if no one challenges him, it will go over that way. It will go over that way because he has not been challenged on that. I don't. What Muslims is he speaking for? That needs to be challenged. That's it.
Okay, Sister Fatima, your thoughts on it?
That was a lot, sister. Mashallah, mashallah. I agree with her. I mean, the beauty of Islam is that it hasn't changed over the years. The sacred law is the sacred law. It hasn't changed. Christianity didn't appeal to me because it kept changing. It kept changing with the times and whatever. And I never understood that. I always said, how can the word of God change? How can it change? Like, who came down and gave it to you? Like, it never made any sense. And that was the appeal of Islam. And for people to come in and try to change it, I don't know, I get kind of pissed off about that, pardon me, but I do. I get angry. I get scared because this is such a beautiful deen that covers every area of our life. And we're going to try to appease something that's a deviant from the sacred law. It doesn't make any sense to me. We are clearly taught God created man and woman. He created us in pairs. You can't change that. We can't change that. And we shouldn't allow anybody to change it. On an individual level, I agree. We have to treat people with compassion. But we have to draw the line of protecting our religion because it's going to get worse. Like you were saying something about then we're going to accept pedophilia, and then we're going to accept this and that. That's not what Islam is about. Islam is to help us change, to help us develop character. And we have to find out what character is. And I learned that from Dr. Sabir all the time. Develop your character, change your character. I had to find out what was character. What kind of character did I want to be? I want to be a loving, caring person, but I'm not going to help change the rules of Islam. I can't do that. I can't be part of that. But I also have to learn how to be loving and caring, something that didn't always come naturally for me. But Islam has helped me become that way. I feel bad that people have that struggle, that sexual struggle, because it must be a struggle. I don't think anybody really wakes up and says, I'm going to be gay or I'm going to change my gender. Shaitan's really been busy with it, Muslims and with people, to get them to be confused, to get them to change. I read today, oh, subhanAllah, I'll share it with you. A man in Japan spent $15,000 to become a dog because he always identified as a dog. I mean, what's going on out there? You know, Shaitan, the fitna Dajjal, is so strong that people are just not happy being a person, being what Allah created them to be. They're confused. They're really confused, and they need us. They need us Muslims who are sticking to the sacred law to help them on this journey with that love, compassion, and mercy that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ brought to us and taught us. And may Allah facilitate this for all of us that are trying to do this. Ameen.
Ameen. Okay, Dr. Sabir.
I was thinking about while Sister Fatima was talking, I was thinking about during the war times when Prophet Muhammad SAW and the companions and all the Muslims, when they was fighting in the war, and they captured prisoners, and they never mistreated the prisoners. They treated them kind. They made sure they had water and food and talked to them correctly. We have to think of the same thing when we're dealing with somebody whose lifestyle is like completely different from our own. We have to treat them with kindness. We got to show them our characters on a consistent and steadfast basis, because that is the way that some of this can change. Some of it we'll see and some of it we won't. But we have to make sure that we have our profound character. That's kindness. The only time we need to be at war with anyone, I want to make this clear. The only time we have to be at war with somebody is when they're trying to force something on us. And I mean, like, literally force something on us. Since this is not happening like this, then our character should prevail to be kind and to show people a different way. And that's how we can get to people. Because you gotta have, see, you gotta know what you can't always have one game face on. One game face doesn't cover everything. Brute strength does not cover everything. Finesse covers some things, brute strength covers other things. And you can't use one or the other in the wrong place at the wrong time. So we got to use our character for this. And this is important, our character. And it must be consistent. And we got to show kindness regardless. Once again, as long as nobody's trying to make us, you're going to be like this, or we can't pray like this, or we can't. As long as we ain't doing that, we have to use finesse. I want to make that clear. We must use finesse. And that means our character, to show people what our character is: caring, loving, kindness, etc., care about humanity. We got to show them through our character, our conscious deeds, everyday consistency. And this is how we have to do this. Not no other way, just that way, because that's important. Understand? It goes back again and remind you again about the prisoners when they had wars, when they captured them. Those people that make judgment, that have the different lifestyles, they're prisoners too. That's why I brought that in there. They are prisoners. Think about it. They're prisoners within themselves. So we got to treat them kindly. We got to show them a way through our character, and that's important.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Yeah, I think it's very important, as you said, Dr. Sabir, is that in these times that we have to be careful to not, consciously be condemning people because of their behaviors or learned behaviors, but we also have to use tact in how we let people know that this is not part of our religion and we don't approve of it, but we still be nice to it. And I think that's the key, because one of the problems that we see with some of these so-called Muslim leaders is that they're actively like speaking out in support of this stuff, which they just shouldn't do. I mean, you have in America, you have the right to remain silent. Just don't let the ego get you. You'll be like, okay, I have to say something about this. I don't have to accept that community. I don't hate them. I'm not actively working against them. I don't have a megaphone or a bullhorn that I'm going to be like, oh, you gays and all this, or you're going to burn in hell. We're not doing none of that, but I'm not endorsing you. I'm not advocating any of that stuff, and that's your business. That's between you and Allah, I'll be making dua that you give it up. You know what I'm saying? Because, And Muslims, we don't need to feel pressured by this kind of stuff, because and a lot of Muslims are, and they faced with it. You don't have to take a stand. You can remain silent. There's safety in silence. The Prophet Islam, he told us in the Hadith that whoever believes in Allah in the last day, فَلْيَتَقُولُ خَيْرًا أَوْ لِيَصْمُتْ. Say something good or remain silent. As simple as that. You say something good with the best spin on it, without changing it, or just be quiet. You don't have to speak on every issue, And for Muslims, for Muslims who are listening to this, you don't have to get engaged in those. We should understand what the Islamic view is on this stuff. This stuff is reprehensible, it's against Islam, but we don't hate the people who are engaged in it. We hate the act. We hate the act. So if these people are our neighbors and our co-workers, we treat them with the same love that we would anybody else, but that doesn't mean I accept your behavior, because even with these communities, they don't have a set format of principles. I was reading an article that my wife just sent me recently about it was a homosexual man who's a Trump supporter, and he's actively saying that he's basically saying, like, this stuff is learned behavior. Don't push your behaviors on other people and make them feel compelled to accept it. If this is your behavior, this is your behavior. No one's, we're not into bashing people or attacking people because of their sexual preference, but don't force this down our throats to make us feel like we got to accept it. That is your view. That is your thing. I'm not going to promote your rally. I'm not going to show up at your rally. Don't ask me to speak at none of that stuff, because it's not what I believe in. I believe in what I believe in. I'm convinced about what I believe in, And then, a lot of these people, they, their theories change, They already set it up as LGBTQ plus. So they're going to add something else. Then there's going to be a gender. Then there's going to be another gender that you can identify with. And there was one video, I can't find it, but it was I think he was like a psychologist. He was on the Dr. Phil show, and they were having a discussion about gender identification. And he said, you don't get to choose your pronouns.
Yeah.
Y'all don't get all these rights that you think that you should have, because it's based on something that is abnormal. You don't get to make try to make logic out of all of this stuff that is totally illogical. You have to bear the brunt of what you're doing, and you have to accept it. You know what I mean? Because now they compare some of these movements with, like, the struggle of Black people in America, and there's nowhere near that. Nowhere near that. I mean, y'all got a whole month already. You know what I mean? And you got one of the summer months. You should have gave us the summer month. They gave us February. I mean, it's short and it's cold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like a smack in the face. I mean, so, and they didn't go through half of the things that Black people have been through in this country for centuries. And we're still being discriminated against, In 2022, you can find a story in the news somewhere about a Black person being called a nigger, some type of discriminatory practice, or something where people showed that, racism, systemic racism is still alive and well in this country.
Yeah, indeed.
So, and it's really sad. So we just have to really make sure we just really being skillful and using a lot of savvy when we're dealing with these situations. And if they're too much where they become overwhelming, where we feel like we can't engage in them, just remain silent. We don't always have to have a voice. One of the signs of, the Prophet ﷺ told us that one of the signs of the last days is that people will be amazed with their own opinion. People will be amazed with their own opinion. In this platform, on these platforms, everybody got something to say. Everybody's an expert, and then being silent is going to be a really noble trait to have, because sometimes you just don't got to say nothing, And we know in the Deen, most of it is about work, about action, about application. As Dr. Sabir was saying, really just have those traits and the characteristics, and showing what Islam is, and that's how you win hearts over, because these people who are in this lifestyle, we hope that they become Muslim, or at least they know that we have a healthy respect for them. We just don't approve of the lifestyle, and it's really as simple as that. I mean, if you're my neighbor, you got the rights of any kind of neighbor. I like that analogy you used, Dr. Sabir. Like, And I was thinking about it was a story about Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, that he used to have a neighbor that was a drunkard, and he used to drink all the time and make all of these noises, and he never said anything to him, and then he ended up getting arrested, and Imam Abu Hanifa went down to the jail and went like to check on him, and he said that like changed his life, like he never even realized the harm he was causing to his neighbor. And yet the neighbor that he was causing harm to came down here to check on his well-being, so that changed his whole life around. So those are the kind of things that we have to do. If you're my neighbor and you're trans or you whatever, that don't mean I won't bring you a cup of sugar. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if if when you start, can I come over and I bring my boyfriend and you're a male? No, you can't come to my house with that. No, not here. I'm sorry, but I'll still pick up your trash in front of your house. I make sure your kids will get, from A to B. But no, now you're doing too much. And if I gotta be canceled, then I gotta be canceled. You know what I mean? Well, mashallah. So yeah, alhamdulillah. So this cancel culture, it really has a bad impact, because you think of some of the situations where, are you all familiar with the Will Smith and Chris Rock, thing? And it's like everything that is not socially acceptable, they want to just get rid of everything that people have done. Like Will Smith, he was like, the clean cut poster boy in Hollywood, and now he does one thing, and now I'm not supposed to watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. What I mean? No, that's not that. I mean, he's still one of the greatest actors and rappers, and despite of what he did, so that's not my business, but he shouldn't be canceled, and just like any of those stars. But then the other thing too is being too involved with these people's lives to begin with, where these people, making them the standards of morality. These people are not driven by any kind of principles like we are, because if they don't have money, they're not worth anything. But we're worth everything because we say la ilaha illallah, So yeah, that's my take on it. So we coming to the close of the show. So we got any final thoughts from our expert panelists? Dr. Sabir, we have to save you for last. So Miss Joanne, you got any closing statements before we conclude?
Well, I think in handling complex, situations or things that are definitely wrong, the presentation, should always be to give, to try and give guidance, with love, so that they can hear the message. You can't hear the message if you're debating or if you're being combative against them. Now, it doesn't change your position, but it's in the manner that you speak to someone a lot of times. Also, I think that uh, for some reason, if someone makes a mistake, and I'm not saying that they were right, but if that person has otherwise lived a pretty good life and has done very good, to humanity and all, uh, perhaps you shouldn't just cancel them out completely. You know, it should be addressed. Yes, that what he did was wrong or what she did was wrong, but you don't just cancel them out completely. We have enough of people taking away our heroes or people that we look up to. So there's hardly anyone left. No matter what field they come from, that you can look up to, because there always seems to be a way to be counterproductive and something thrown, to take all of the good that person did away, and just that turning point is left there. So you still have to deal with people with compassion, correct them in their ways, where they're wrong, but always give advice and try to give leadership. And by giving leadership, you be the example. Now, if you're not a good example, you're not the one to talk to that person. Okay, you're not the one to give advice, but it depends on you. You have to be an example. You can't go to that person about lies or anything else. That's the problem. If that is what the life that you're living, make sure that the life that you're living is a good life, and that person will then in turn be able to at least hear what you have to say, and later on use it food for thought.
Alhamdulillah. Such a royal expression from the queen of the what is it called? The international waters of Florida.
Yeah, international Florida, honey. It's shining
Yeah,
down
yeah,
here every day.
alhamdulillah. Okay, Sister Fatima.
Yeah, I really like what my Queen Joanne was saying. Is that I look back and the people that I know that are struggling with this issue. Basically, they're very, very good people, very, very good people, but they've made a choice to go against, Allah's word, how Allah created them. But they're still people, they're still good people.
Mhm.
And I'm struggling with that on a personal level with some people. So it's like, it's hard because I really do love them and I want to see them succeed. I want them to be winners on the day of judgment. And I have to keep that in mind that when I first became Muslim, people treated me with a lot of love and compassion and mercy until I found my way clear to really start practicing Islam correctly. So for sure, love, compassion, and mercy. The This is what our beloved Prophet Muhammad wasallam brought to us. And if we keep practicing that with each other, then we have a hope. We have a chance of perhaps changing their minds, changing their ways, and making them understand what they're doing is not the way to go. So for sure, we can't cancel them out any more than we want to be canceled out because we're Muslims. Because often we are canceled out because we're Muslims. So anyway, I'd like to thank everybody that came today. And Miss Joanne is, for anybody that tuned in late, this is Miss Joanne's special day. It's her born day, and it's her day that when she retook her Shahada today. So, mashallah, this is our beautiful queen of the international Florida.
Yes.
Mabruk, congratulations, and welcome to the best dean in the world.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
it's finally good to see you. I always see your
You
name, but now I see a face.
you probably know my son too.
Yes, I do. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah, he gave me my shahada today.
Farouk.
Yes, yes. He gave me my shahada, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just good to see you to finally come out of the royal court and mix with us peasants down here, and you know
Hey,
that's the
hey,
great
hey,
thing.
you already know that's the flyer man. You know him already.
Yes, yes.
Alhamdulillah. So you got any final comments, Dr. Sabir, before we close out?
Yeah, yes, I do. It goes back to basically what all of us were saying in one point, shape, or form. Our character must prevail, and our character must prevail with consistency, because that's the first thing that someone sees. They listen to our words, then they watch the character. And if they don't coincide, once again, that gives a mixed message. And that's harmful not only to them who are not Muslims, but it's harmful to us as Muslims, because we're supposed to be representatives of one another. And it is extremely important that we polish our character, because when it's all said and done, that is all we have. When we're dealing with people who are not Muslims, which are our neighbors, is our character. And we must show that our character is what our faith entails to the letter. And we can't do our own thing and do it the way we want to do it. We have to do it the way it is laid out for us. And we have to be mindful of that at all times. Your character never goes on vacation. And what I mean by that is wherever you go, it goes, and there's no rest. So you either doing it from the right or you're doing it from the left, but you can't hide. So make sure that we all, me first, continue to polish our characters so that we can be a real asset to the world, not just to a few, but to the world, because it's like a long chain, and all the links have to be strong. If one link is not strong, then guess what? We all take the brunt of the fall. So we got to make sure that our chain link is strong, so we can all be strong together and be helpful and have compassion and empathy for people the way it should be done, and not through anger or hatred or discrimination or racism, but because of love. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We need to copyright that, Dr. Sabir. I like that one. Your character never goes on vacation.
That's right.
Okay, now that shows up somewhere. Please don't be mad at me, but I'm gonna use that one. That was profound. Alhamdulillah. So we like to thank all of our people who joined us today for this broadcast and all of our panelists. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept this from us. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم آمين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Well,
Alaikum salam.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.